Johnson to the stand.
Thank you.
Sir, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly state that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated. Please state your name for the record. Spell your first and last names.
Robert William Johnson, RobertJohnson.
Mr. Johnson, good morning.
Good morning.
Let me provide you with some instructions. And these are instructions I give to every witness in every case. The first of which is to please sit back and relax. The second of which is to speak in a loud voice so everyone can hear you. The third of which is to answer a question yes or no if you're asked, rather than using slang like which can be a little tricky. And the fourth, please wait until you hear an entire question before you even start to respond. In our daily lives, many of us are used to talking over each other. But it's important in a courtroom to hear only one speaker at one time, so please do wait. Is that all okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Direct, Mr. Walden.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, where are you employed?
I'm employed with Non-In Medical.
And what is Non-In Medical?
Non-In Medical designs and manufactures non-invasive physiological monitoring equipment.
Okay.
For my benefit, maybe for the benefit of others, could you spell that name?
Nonin. It's short for non.
Thank you.
And your description of the equipment was what?
Pulse oximeters and regional oximeters and capnography equipment, which is all physiological monitoring equipment.
Okay, physiological monitoring for medical monitoring.
For medical monitoring, yes.
Purposes. Okay. And what is your job at Non-In?
I'm the Director of Regulatory Affairs, Clinical Research, and Quality Assurance.
As a Director of Regulatory Affairs, what are your responsibilities?
My responsibilities are to get product approvals with the Food and Drug Administration and Worldwide Health Ministries.
And the second task is regional affairs. Was that what you said?
Clinical research, yes.
Okay, and what are your responsibilities in that regard?
We do both animal and human clinical research on our products, both for pre-market reasons and post-market research.
Okay, in regard to quality assurance, what is your responsibility in that regard?
That involves the testing of our products
Okay.
prior to release.
The physiological monitoring products?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you indicated specifically that one of the products you manufacture is pulse oximeters?
That's correct.
What is a pulse oximeter?
A pulse oximeter is a device that shines certain wavelengths of light through your skin. It then measures the amount of those wavelengths that shine through the other side, for instance, if it's put on a finger. The pulse oximeter detects both the pulse rate and the percent of your red blood cells that have oxygen attached to them.
And gives a result of the oxygen saturation?
Saturation, that's correct.
And generally speaking about pulse oximeters in general, not a particular model, do they then display that reading in some fashion?
That's correct. They would then display both the pulse rate and the percent, it's called SpO2.
About how many models of pulse oximeters does Non-In manufacture?
That's irrelevant. Overall, you may answer. Can we approach, Your Honor? Sure. Please resume.
Could I have the last question right back, Your Honor?
Mrs. McNeil?
Question about how many models of pulse oximeters does Nonin manufacture?
We make both tabletop, handheld, wrist-worn, and fingertip oximeters. There are probably 10 or more models.
Okay, thank you. Now, are you familiar with the Nonin 9500?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And can you describe that model for us?
The Onyx 9500 is a fingertip oximeter. It contains both the sensor and the oximetry circuit in a device that you can wear on your finger. It displays both heart rate and SpO2.
Okay. Your Honor, I have a photograph of the Nonin 9500. May this be marked Peoples 35 for identification?
It is. If we would, please.
Can you see that, Mr. Johnson?
Yes, I can.
And is that the Nonin 9500?
Yes, it is.
Do you see in that picture that there appear to be two red numbers displayed on the pulse oximeter?
Yes.
Okay, and what do those numbers represent?
The top number, which is labeled as percent SpO2, is the percent of the red blood cells or hemoglobin that have oxygen attached. And the 92, which is next to the heart, is the heart rate.
Okay. May we have the lights, please, Your Honor?
May we, please?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill.
Mr. Johnson, Peoples 33 for identification. If you could take a moment to look at this. Is that the Nonin 9500?
Yes, it is.
Okay, as reflected in Peoples 35?
That's correct.
Now, this particular pulse oximeter is what you described as a fingertip model?
That's correct.
Meaning what exactly?
That it has the sensor and the circuitry all in one device that can be worn on the finger. There's no separate monitor.
Okay. And this particular model, the 9500, does it have any sort of audible alarm?
No, it does not.
What is this particular model designed for?
This particular model is designed for spot checking of vital signs.
What does that mean, spot checking?
Well, for instance, you go into your doctor's office and they take your blood pressure. They may also take your heart rate with this and measure your oxygen saturation.
Is this model, the 9500, designed for continuous monitoring?
No, it is not. It's specifically labeled against continuous monitoring.
When you say it's specifically labeled, what do you mean?
The instructions for use have specific cautions against using it only for spot checking.
Okay. And does the product, the 9500, come with with materials labeled instructions for use?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Your Honor, I have a 5-page document with a cover sheet labeled Nonin 9500 instructions for use. May that be marked Peoples 36 for identification?
It is.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Sir, I want to show you the instructions for use for the 9500. Is it these instructions that include the advisement that it's not for continuous monitoring?
That's correct.
Okay. And could you indicate that with a highlighter as to where that is?
Yes, under the cautions it states this device has no audible alarms and is intended only for spot checking.
Okay. Which is, as you described, when the doctor's on scene with the patient and recording the measurements.
Taking an instantaneous reading, yes.
Okay. And this had been highlighted previously. Let me put this on the screen. Sir, on page 1 of the instructions for use, under warnings, is that accurate that it states this device is intended only as an adjunct in patient assessment? It must be used in conjunction with other methods of assessing clinical signs and symptoms. Is that an accurate reading of the first warning on that page?
That is correct.
And under cautions, does it specifically state, as reflected in this exhibit, this device has no audible alarms and is intended only for spot checking?
That's correct.
Now, does Nonin manufacture pulse oximeters that have an audible alarm?
Yes, we do.
And before I ask you about that, going back to the year 2009, how much did the Nonin 9500 cost?
It would have been
Overruled. 350, 352. You may answer.
$275 retail approximately.
$275?
Yes.
Is that accurate, what I've written on the exhibit on People's 35?
Yes.
Now, do you manufacture a product that goes by the name Nonin 2500A?
That's correct.
And what type of pulse oximeter is that?
This is zero. Thank you. Court has ruled. Overruled. 352. Within the limits of 352. You may answer.
It is a pulse oximeter that displays the same functions as the 9500, but also has visual and audible alarms.
Okay. Now, the audible alarm on the Nonin 2500A, is that an alarm designed to be heard in another room, essentially?
Yes, it can be set at any volume, but at the maximum volume, it could be heard outside of a bedroom. Yes.
Have you heard it?
Yes.
Is it loud?
It is loud and annoying.
Okay. And the Nonin 2500A with the both the visual display and the audible alarm, in 2009, how much did that product cost?
That would have been about $750 retail.
With the audible alarm?
That's correct.
You want to have a photograph of the Nonin 2500A. May that be marked People's 37 for identification?
It is marked.
And I've written on there $750. Could we dim the lights briefly, Your Honor?
We will.
Is that 2500A that sold?